Hey guys, Happy New Year. I just wanted to give you all an update on the series of deconstructing the music because, as you guys can tell, it's been well over a month since I made the last update, and that's because I've been really trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do, and I had to think about this further than I did last time because I think the last time was like November of 2024, so it's been a few months since I thought of the idea of actually doing it. It's like it's kind of like I keep changing my mind. Is like, oh, but I don't want to do this. Oh, but I really want to do that. Or I kind of just going back and forth and stuff. So right now, as I've as of the beginning of 2025, I've pulled myself together and what I've decided to do before the first episode is actually talk about facts about an album. In this case, for the first episode, I'm going to do the song The Root of All Evil by Dream Theater, and then the song that goes after that, which I'm pretty sure is The Answer Lies Within, then the song These Walls, I Walk Beside You, Panic Attack, Never Enough until the very end of the album. But the thing I'm going to do before the first song is actually talk about the album facts because I read a page on Wikipedia that has information about the whole album of secrets of some songs that I did not know about. So hopefully I'll catch those when I get to the songs, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the facts that I found in Wikipedia and probably some that I haven't seen before so I can get more of a reaction out of me. So we'll just have to I don't know about reaction out of me, but you guys know what I mean like when I'm trying to say like it would be like my first time seeing it. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's get right into it. Okay, so this page was last edited on December 28th, 2024. Now, I'm not really too surprised about that because that might have been like a punctuation mistake or something like that. I don't know if it would be like a big, like major change in the article. That's not usually what I see happen in Wikipedia pages, but if that ever happens and if you guys know a change, then just let me know in the comments below and I will be sure to do a follow up video on this. But anyways, getting on to the beginning of the article, Octavarium is the eighth studio album by American progressive metal band Dream Theater. Okay, so that it was released on June 7th, 2005. It was pretty recent compared to most rock albums or progressive metal, I should say. It was the band's final release with Atlantic Records. So yeah, last Atlantic Records album. So I bet after that maybe they had a different sound. I haven't heard of any albums that came out later than Octavarium that are by Dream Theater. So I mean maybe I'll explore that later. But yeah, so it was recorded between September of 2004 and February of 2005. It was the last album recorded at the Hit Factory, New York City. With it, the band decided to create a classic Dream Theater album drawing upon their various stylistic influences while trying to make their music less complex. Okay. The album takes its creative concept from the musical Octave. Okay. So that kind of makes sense why they would call this Octavarium. So maybe that was just their fancy a word of coming up with the album name, or maybe it's like a Latin kind of word or something. I'm gonna have to do some separate research on that word, but I think that's kind of what inspired them to come up with this album name. But okay, now we're going on to the background. After completing a North American tour supporting their one of their main influences, Yes. Oh, I think it means yeah, okay, so it means the rock band Yes, which I'm a huge fan of. I like that band as well. Their main influences, Yes, after in summer of 2004, Dream Theater took a 2-month break. The band reconvened at the Hit Factory in New York City in November 2004 to begin work on their 8th studio album. So yeah, the Hit Factory also was a studio which included artists such as Michael Jackson, Madonna, Stevie Wonder, U2, and John Lennon. Which marked foreclosure. Dream Theater was the last band to record at that original location before it was permanently closed. So, I guess maybe the sounds of Octavarium can't be recreated 100%, so maybe because of that studio not existing anymore, so we'll have to see. If I ever do a cover, then hopefully I recreate the sound as best I can, um, so yeah, after writing the concept album Metropolis Part 2 Scenes from a Memory, the double album 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, and the metal-focused Train of Thought, the band decided to create a Dream Theater classic album. Okay, so keyboardist Jordan Rudez described it as really going back to creating a real band effort, as well as drawing upon all our various stylistic influences. On Octavarium, the band wanted to make the music less complex, featuring songs which Rudess regards to as quicker to appreciate. Okay, quicker to appreciate. I like that. Although noted that the 24-minute Octavarium was not accessible. Yeah, so that's the title track, and that's at the very end. So that'll be the last episode I do regarding this Octavarium album, which is the title track. So guitarist John Petrucci noted that they wanted to focus on writing strong songs. To achieve this, the band stripped the sound down to piano, guitar, and vocals when writing, focusing on the melodies and song structures. Drummer Mike Portnoy claims that Octavarium was an attempt to make a more commercial album, stating that the band simply has that side to them. We love bands like U2 or Coldplay, as well as liking shorter songs as well. Portnoy noted that after writing 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence and Train of Thought, they had not written an album of shorter songs for some time. He said that the band had found writing longer songs easier than writing shorter ones. Okay, that's really interesting. And that the band was not trying to write a radio hit, as the label wouldn't have done crap with it anyway. Okay. So yeah, I had no idea that Dream Theater actually it's easier for them to write longer songs compared to short songs. That's really interesting. So and there are a lot of long Dream Theater songs, and I can think of very few that I know that are really short. So okay, so yeah, the band had previously written an orchestral piece in the form of overture on 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, but Jordan Rudess recorded these using two keyboards. Yeah, these names, keyboard names I don't really know about. The latter being then on a new synthesizer that Rudess had brought fairly recently at the time. The tracks The Answer Lies Within, Sacrifice Sons, and Octavarium marked the first time Dream Theater worked with an orchestra. So, yeah, I kind of heard that in those songs, and sometimes, like, when I listen to isolated tracks of what I think is orchestra, sometimes those are actually keyboards. Yeah, spoiler alert, that will happen throughout parts of the series, or episodes of this album. So that's gonna be something that will be mentioned. Okay, so the orchestra was selected based on sight reading ability, allowing all their parts to be recorded in a maximum of 2 takes. So I had no idea it was a maximum of 2 takes. That's pretty insane. It's even though they had never seen or played the music before, like maximum of 2 takes, it's recorded into the album. So they had to be really professional, I guess. So yeah, the conductor would go and conduct the Octavarium Orchestra on Dream Theater's Score album. I believe that's this is when they recorded this and I think it says it was recorded. The Score is their 5th live album, recorded on April Fools of 2006. So this is when they did it in Radio City. So it was about like a year after the album was released. So alright, now we're on to the concept section. When starting to work on what would become Octavarium, Portnoy noted that it would be their 8th studio album. With that, they had recently released their 5th album live at Budokan. The sequence mirrored the octave on a musical keyboard. Each octave contains 8 naturals and 5 accidentals. Portnoy suggested that they use that concept for the entire album. When writing, the band neglected each song in a different key. Okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Sound effects were also placed between songs to connect them. For example, The Root of All Evil was written in F minor, and then the following track, The Answer Lies Within, was written in G minor. So yeah, those two were connected by the sound effect in the key of F minor. Okay, so that's really interesting. I'll probably talk about the sound effect either in the first episode or the second episode, or both, because it's like a kind of transition between The Answer Lies Within and or no, the root of all evil and the answer lies within. So there's like a sound effect in the middle. So it kind of, since it kind of overlaps it a little bit, I might mention that kind of in both episodes, but it doesn't really matter. But anyways, going on. The album's lyrics and song titles featured references to this concept. Portnoy cited in the titles "The Root of All Evil" and "Octavarium" has two examples of this. So yeah, Octavarium, the octave of the octave. So that's why it's the last. That's why it's like the last song. The title track is the last song. It's referred to as the octave of the octave, Octavarium. So so then it gives us a table of the length, track, and key. So the first 8 minutes is the root of all evil, and that's in the key of F. And then there's nature sounds there's nature sounds for the next like 14 seconds or so. And it says negative time in CD is 18 seconds. Now, I haven't seen negative time in CD for probably a long time, because when I was little I used to see CDs, but haven't really thought about the negative time CDs. So if any of y'all know how that works, be sure to let me know in the comments below, because when I listen to music nowadays, I either listen to it on YouTube or Spotify. So obviously there's not really negative time in there, but that's just kind of what it's referring to as. If you had the CD, this would be like the nature sounds would be the negative time in the CD. And yeah, speaking of the nature sounds, that is in the key of F sharp and G flat. So right after that, the answer lies within is in the key of G. And then there's a pitch bend, which is in the key of G sharp, and the negative time for that is 7 seconds. So I'm pretty sure it's a piano, kind of like the pitch is going up, and then it goes into the next song, which is These Walls. And then for the end of These Walls, there's wind, heartbeat chimes. Negative time in CD is 37 seconds. Yeah, so These Walls is in the key of A, then the heartbeat chimes is in the key of A sharp. Then I Walk Beside You is in the key of B. Then there's no transition in between that. The end of I Walk Beside You, I'm pretty sure, just suddenly just stops, kind of as just one note. It doesn't it doesn't really. I don't even think it fades out. It might. I don't know. I'll have to take a listen to that. But yeah, the next song is Panic Attack, and that is in the key of C. There's a kind of synth solo for 15 seconds in negative time, and that is in the key of C sharp. I'm not sure why they call it a synth solo, because if you guys have heard the end of Panic Attack, it sounds like a swell effect that's like panned in each speaker. If you guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the next song after that is Never Enough. That's in the key of D. Then the next part is Voices Began, and that is as 13 seconds in negative time. That's in the key of D sharp. Then after that is the song Sacrifice Sons, which is in the key of E. There's no transition after that, and actually that does make sense, because if I look at the piano, there's no such thing as E sharp or F flat. So after Sacrifice Sons is a title track, which I've already mentioned, Octavarium, which is in the key of F, and it basically, it even ends with the same note as the beginning note in The Root of All Evil. So I thought that was really interesting. Okay, so Octavarium begins The Root of All Evil with the final note of the band's previous album, Train of Thought, with the song In the Name of God. Train of Thought started As I Am with the last note of the 6 degrees of inner turbulence with its title track, which started with the noise that ended Scenes from Memory at the end of Finally Free. Okay, so yeah, it was back to Scenes of a Memory, back to when they made albums in the kind of later early 90s. So I think that's what it's referring to. So apparently Mike Portnoy, the drummer, was inspired to do this thanks to Van Halen. To the Van Halen album Women and Children First, and that came out in 1980. I've never heard that before, but That sounds really interesting. The outro of the album's final song ended with a new riff being played, which faded out. So Portnoy recalled that he expected Van Halen's next album to start with the ending of that riff, but was disappointed when it did not. So possibly that just inspired him to do that with when he was in Dream Theater. So okay, so he later realized he had dug a hole. He had dug a hole where we're expected to do it every time. He solved this problem on Octavarium, where the final track ends with the beginning of the first one. The album made a cycle in itself, allowing the band to have a clean start with their next album. So apparently, they don't have to. So I guess after Octavarium, they don't have to after the key of F, have to have the next song. I mean, no, the next album with the first song of the next album to start in the key of G. I think that's what he's saying. At 4:52 to 5:17, there is a lyrical and musical reference to the chorus of "This Dying Soul" from Train of Thought. This reference comes from Portnoy's 12-suite site. All the negative time sections on the CD version were omitted to the digital versions initially, but later made available again. So I apparently didn't know that those were that the negative time sections were taken off digitally. So if it hadn't, so it might have been why they remastered the album. I noticed there was a 2009 remaster on these songs, so maybe that's what they're referring to it as. So I personally don't know. So that's kind of my guess. Okay, so going on with the page, the content. The Root of All Evil is the third part of Portnoy's 12-suite site. The song contains parts 6 and 7 of the suite Ready and Remove. Okay, The Answer Lies Within and I Walk Beside You are the two shortest tracks on the album. Jordan Rudess regards them as radio-friendly songs which still maintain Dream Theater style. Portnoy wrote the lyrics to Never Enough as a response to fans who Portnoy perceived to complain about everything that Dream Theater did. So if you guys have heard the song Never Enough, they're kind of James LeBray, the singer, he actually sings that then you will complain that you didn't like that this happened, you didn't like that happened. So it's if you guys have heard the lyrics of that song, then that song was inspired by fans who were kind of complaining about stuff when they didn't play Pull Me Under at the end of a concert, they would kind of complain about that. So it's discouraging and it drives me crazy sometimes. Sacrifice Sons, at almost 11 minutes long, is the second longest song on the album. Yeah, it definitely is. Okay, its lyrics, written by James LeBray, deal with the September 11 attacks. Okay, so that explains what the voices are. The voices are referring to the September 11th, 2001 attacks, and those I'm pretty sure that they were speaking in different languages, and there were also a few English speakers too. So about terrorism, and we will hunt down this person, and or some other phrases I wasn't able to do because they're kind of panned in each speaker, and there's one kind of in the middle, so sometimes they kind of go a lot at once. So
looking in awe, amazement, shock, and grief and anger at what they were seeing in front of them.
It's kind of hard to describe that. I'll probably break that down hopefully when I get to that song, but that's kind of what this is referring to. Yeah, so when working on the lyrics, LeBray said that there was a lot of discussion about the song's wording and how direct it should be. So yeah, that must have been a pretty hard job. Okay, so the title track, Octavarium, is the longest track on the album, which is 24 minutes. Wow. But it actually is divided into 5 parts. Okay, so the guitarist Petrucci stated that the band wanted to write an epic song that thematically developed and would use an orchestra. The band was heavily influenced by the progressive rock sound of Genesis, Yes, and Pink Floyd. Okay. The instrumental introduction was heavily influenced by Pink Floyd's Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Yeah, so the intro of Octavarium is the synth pad that kind of fades in, so it's really beautiful. I love that a lot. Yeah, it says it was performed by the keyboard player using a lap steel guitar and a continuum fingerboard. Now I have seen him do this live, and I was really fascinated. But I actually saw the performance in New York City. I think it was a Radio Hall, Radio City, something like that. It was the 2006 performance when he was using this thing like when he presses on one note, it kind of like the pitch is really specific. It's kind of hard to put into words, but if you guys have seen that, you probably know what I'm talking about. But yeah, so apparently he used this in the studio as well. Okay, so additionally, there are many references to the other progressive rock songs in the lyrics. The song ends with introductory theme of the root of all evil before fading out. Instead, there is an alternative version for some releases with the reprise flute from the first part of Octavarium playing in the background. Wait, what? Instead, there's an Yeah, so apparently there's an alternative version of Octavarium, I guess it's saying. So I might focus on that later. But I definitely know that flute part that's kind of being played, with the guitars. So yeah, the ending establishes a cyclinical theme to the album and breaks the continuity of the meta album as established since Scenes from a Memory, thus allowing the band the opportunity for a fresh start on the next album. So so now we're on to the artwork. Hugh Seam provided the artwork for Octavarium. The idea of depicting a giant Newton's cradle was born out of discussions between Scheim and Portnoy. The two talked about how for everything you do in music, you either create or cluster or triad. And then it became evident that for every action there is an opposite reaction. So yeah, so then it says, so I thought we could do something based on the Newton's cradle. There are numerous references to the numbers 5 and 8 throughout the artwork, alluding the album's concept. For example, the Newton's cradle has 8 suspended balls, and there are 5 birds on the cover. The album booklet features an octagonal magazine, spider and octopus, among other references. The landscape of the cover is made up of sky and grass from Indiana, and the background from the Lake District. Okay. Octavarium marked the beginning of an extended association with the band from Scheim. He would go on to provide the artwork for all the following studio albums, apart from the Astonishing. Okay, so the release. A week before the scheduled release of Octavarium, Portnoy shut down the official Dream Theater and Mike Portnoy forums. That was blabbermouth.net, website dedicated to heavy metal and hard rock news, as well as album and music DVD reviews. Okay, so that was shut down. It was so reported that this was in response to the album being leaked. Okay. Portnoy stated that he chose to do this mainly to build an anticipation for the big official unveiling next week. Although noted that the repeated requests to refrain from spoilers and links for the new album against the band's wishes were frustrating. Octavarium was released on June 7th, 2005. It was their final album with Atlantic Records, ending a contrast which had lasted 14 years. Wow. So, 14 years. 1, 2. So, I want to say Images and Words was actually, if I had to guess, I think that was the first album that had the contract with Atlantic Records, because 14 years ago from 2005 would be 1991, and that's when Images and Words came out. So I wouldn't be surprised if I found information on that. But okay, so although in recent years the band had been allowed creative freedom, they were dissatisfied with the lack of promotion the label offered them. Portnoy released a DVD entitled Drumavarium in 2005 containing footage of his drum performance from the Octavarium recording sessions. Now, I actually, before I even saw this page on Wikipedia, I actually did see some of his performances on a YouTube channel, or maybe it was a couple of YouTube channels, but I'm pretty sure like the actual video is like one of his performances. I mean, like one of his takes, but I don't know if it was necessarily like the final take. I'm gonna have to dig deeper into that when I talk about each song. But that's what the Drumavarium DVD really means. So yeah, there's he mostly records himself doing all the songs of Octavarium. I think maybe with one song from a 6 Degree Inner Turbulence. I could be wrong though, but all I know is that he definitely does all the Octavarium songs. So yeah. Okay, so it also says the keyboard player released a solo piano version of The Answer Lies Within in his 2009 album Notes on a Dream. Okay, a solo piano version. So I don't know if that means the isolated piano track, or maybe it's just like a re-recorded version, and maybe just like or maybe like the vocal melody is being played on the piano and the actual piano part is being played on the piano at the same time, or maybe it's like a duet, or I don't know what it is, but or I guess if it's solo, you would be doing it. Okay, I don't know, doing it on one, I guess. So it also says Panic Attack is featured as a playable song in Rock Band 2. Okay, so I had no idea about this. I personally thought that all the songs on Octavarium were available as isolated tracks from only one place, and that's an app called Cram It, which lets you isolate original master recordings, not cover kind of songs, and lets you like like isolate each part and kind of loop it, slow it down. There's a lot of stuff to go over on that app, but that's the only place I know where these Octavarium songs are available as isolated tracks. I didn't know Panic Attack was available in Rock Band 2, so I do have the files for that, so I'll be sure to check those out when I go over this song, which I'm pretty sure is the fifth song on the album, so for episode 5 or something like that. So yeah, it's listed as the hardest song to play both bass and drums. So yeah, if you guys have played Rock Band before, then that'll be a challenge. So just a heads up, Panic Attack is the hardest for those of y'all who are a fan of those games. That's the hardest. Okay, so yeah, then it talks about the reception. Where it climbed on the charts. Okay, so then it talks about touring. Yeah, not really gonna go over that too much. So okay, then so after touring, it goes about track listing. So all music is composed by Dream Theater, and the lyrics are written by different members. So the Root of All Evil, the first song, is actually is apparently split into 2 parts. Now I'm not sure why it says part 6 and 7, Ready and Remove. I haven't really thought about the Root of All Evil really being divided into 2 parts. I guess that kind of is possible. Like, I just haven't really dug out that information well, or maybe I haven't digested the song well enough to know that. But if you guys know why it's called 6 and 7, let me know in the comments below, because that definitely confuses me, I would say. Maybe it was just a typo in the page, but I could be wrong though. So yeah, The Answer Lies Within. The lyrics were written by John Petrucci, the guitar player, and same for These Walls, I Walk Beside You, Panic Attack. Never Enough was written by Mike Portnoy. Sacrifice Sons was written by James Labrie, and Octavarium was written by all 4 of the members. So this is split into 5 parts, and it's called. The first part is Someone Like Him. Then there's Meditate, which is I think called the Awakening part. I think that's when James Labrie is singing about how a doctor awakes him, and he's been asleep for 30 years or something, or this guy has been asleep for 30 years or so, and he asks him how he feels, and the things like that. Then the next part is Full Circle, which I don't really get. I might have to listen to that carefully. And same for Intervals and Razor's Edge. I'm not really sure what that means exactly, but but that's pretty cool how they thought of these titles I didn't know about. So we're onto the personal section, and for lead vocals, that is all James LeBray, and John Petrucci does the guitars and backing vocals, and he's also the producer. John Rades does the keyboards, the contradum. I think that's the kind of yeah, that's the fingerboard I mentioned earlier, and he also does the lap steel guitar, like I think that's the. I think they mean the one from Octavarium, because that's the only one I know, like the title track, not the album. John Young does the bass, and Mike Portnoy does the drums, backing vocals, and also the percussion. He's also the producer and does art concept as well. So additional personnel is that the orchestra was on Sacrifice Sons and Octavarium. For the song "The Answer Lies Within," this was a string quartet that was played on that track. That included a first violin, a second violin, a viola, and a cello, which was conducted by Jill Dillip. I don't know how to pronounce that. But yeah, so that was so to be specific, that's what it was. That's the arrangement that was on "The Answer Lies Within." So I assume. So yeah, I assume that means Sacrifice Sons and Octavarium had a much bigger orchestra than just a string quartet, since it obviously says a lot more. Instruments. So yeah. On Panic Attack, though, I actually did hear what sounded like an orchestra being played on the intro, and kind of on the I think on the ending as well. I could be wrong, though. That might just be keyboards. So if you guys know what I'm talking about, then be sure to let me know in the comments below if that was an orchestra or a keyboard, because I personally don't know, because sometimes I would get that mixed up based on the isolated keyboard tracks I've heard and just the song in general, and kind of, a mix of both. I'm like wondering, okay, well, I'm so used to that sound being a keyboard, or wait, no, that sounds like an orchestra. Like, it's a little confusing. So yeah. Okay. So going on, it talks about the chart positions. Yeah, y'all can take a look at that yourself if you want to, and then just references. Yeah. So like I said at the beginning, this was last updated on the 28th of December of 2024. So yeah, like I said, if any major change happens in this page, I will let you guys know in the comments below, or maybe I'll do like a follow-up video. Then I'll put it in the description below. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for this video. So thank you guys for watching. I know it took me a while to pull together a strategy for breaking down songs, but now that I have some album information, just like what I just read, I will go over the first song hopefully tomorrow, or hopefully before I start second semester. So yeah. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys. I hope y'all are staying safe and having a good start of 2025. So I'll see you guys next time.